Syria, Libya, North Korea, climate change. And we have about as full an agenda as any administration has ever had.
Each of us brings something to the table, informed by our history, by our experience, by our background.
I'm always feeling a sense of urgency to try to get as much done as possible.
You're sitting here and you're realizing the stakes.
All right, let's do this.
Hello, welcome to What the Flick. I am Christy. That is Ben. Ben and I have seen The Final Year, which is a documentary about the last year of the Obama administration, but it's not really a documentary, it's a horror film. Tell us about it, please.
So The Final Year really examines the Obama national security team. Samantha Power, who was Obama's ambassador to the United Nations, Ben Rhodes, who was his chief foreign policy speechwriter, John Kerry, Secretary of State, following the one before him. I can't recall.
She was good. She was pretty good.
Yeah. She was a warmonger, Christy. That's what everybody. All right.
But her emails.
Her emails. Yeah. So Kerry, who of course succeeded Hillary Clinton, and then actually 3 or 4 interviews with President Obama himself, and
a little bit of Susan Rice. A dash of Susan Rice,
who was the national security advisor.
And a dash of Obama.
But mostly the stars of it are Samantha Power, Ben Rhodes, and John Kerry. And it is an interesting look at an administration that knows it's on the way out and is trying to fix the things that are wrong that it can fix. And it is, at moments, very revealing, and it certainly humanizes these people who we tend to think of as merely political animals.
History really doesn't follow a straight line. It zigs and zags. The trend lines ultimately will be in the direction of a less violent, more empathetic, more generous world. That requires individuals fighting for that future.
I still believe the most important office in any country is not president or prime minister. The most important title is citizen.
So I liked this. It was powerful. I mean, it will certainly be cheered by every Obama fan or even admirer. Fan suggests that it's something simplistic, but those who sort of admired the sophistication at a bare minimum of the Obama presidency, because these figures, Sam Power, Ben Rhodes, John Kerry, stand in such stark contrast to the national security team that surrounds President Trump.
Well, that's what's fascinating is that Greg Barker, who's the director, chose to look at the final year of this administration. And so many political documentaries look at the campaign, look at the beginning, look at the war room, for example.
That's
you know,
right.
They look at the momentum of coming in, and this is the perspective of going out.
Yeah.
And also you have this whole other undercurrent of tension, because we all know what happened in that election. They don't know what's going to happen during that year. And so, and Greg Barker and everybody here all thought that Hillary Clinton was going to become president.
Right, so
no one thought Trump was going to become president. So that increasing tension, it's just like you feel the dread like hovering and increasing as the film goes on.
The best question, I did a Q&A with Samantha Power and Ben Rhodes and Greg Barker a month and a half ago. That's when I saw the movie, and I know Greg a little.
Do you?
In the interest of
Why is that?
Fairness. Our daughters are friends.
Oh, okay.
And so he, the best question I asked, I mean, it was a good Q&A because Samantha Power and Ben Rhodes and Greg are supremely interesting, and it was an interesting topic. It was
expansive,
hard,
of course.
It was hard to screw up that Q&A. But the best thing I asked them was, what would they have done? What one thing? What stands out most? What sits with them? What eats away at them that they didn't do differently because they presumed the entire time that there would be some continuity, because Hillary Clinton would win and there would not be a dramatic shift in foreign policy goals and direction.
Tone,
right. I mean, there would be almost no shift. They thought things they implemented would continue. And it was the question toward the end, and it's one that I tried to talk to her about afterwards, but she got mobbed by people and there wasn't really an opportunity even. And she said, Yemen. She said, we bear, I'm paraphrasing, she said, we bear enormous responsibility for what started in Yemen, and we couldn't do anything about it. And I thought there would be time to do something about it, but in hindsight, that's a huge, enormous regret that sits with me.
But everything that they did was going to get unwound anyway. So that's what I'm sure is so frustrating.
Yeah, it's true. I don't
All
know-
of their best efforts,
I don't
and
know
their
if they had-
globetrotting and their deep intellectualism and their deep study and their care.
And their professionalism,
Yeah, that too.
I long have admired in almost everything, competence. And there's a tremendous amount of competence. Doesn't mean they don't get things wrong. Doesn't mean you can't criticize them for doing things wrong. But there was tremendous competence and has been replaced by incompetence and or indifference. For a while, among many on the left, Rex Tillerson was like, well, at least Rex Tillerson is smart enough to dislike Trump and to call Trump a moron.
A fucking moron.
Right, I think history will reflect Rex Tillerson as one of the most abominable appointments in the history of the United States of America. This is a guy who has no business running something like the State Department
No
in any way.
experience.
No experience for a job that may require experience more than anything else. And professional diplomats, professional foreign service officers rushing out of the State Department because he's indifferent, and putting a significant portion of the staff to reinvestigate the Hillary email situation. I mean, he is a bumbling fool in a critically important position. So one thing that really stood out, other than I thought it was really telling, the answer of Yemen, because it has a blight on American foreign policy right now, what happened in Yemen, and obviously that was not the original intent. But one thing that really stood out to me in this was John Kerry, because he's in many ways he's a punchline because of the 2004 presidential campaign, putting on the duck hunting suit and the windsurfing and all these very silly things that he did, right? In a winnable election, right? And then you see him here as Secretary of State, and Hillary Clinton dominated. Hillary Clinton is the definitive Secretary of State of the Obama administration, right? That's who. But John Kerry is literally a statesman. I mean, he is professional and tireless and involved and understands the issues and respectful and knows how to talk to friends and enemies. And I came away from that thinking, yeah, boy, we underestimate the value of John Kerry.
Oh yeah, and he's as old as Trump, correct?
Yeah, I believe he's
They're the
71
same
years old. I
age.
think he's like, yeah.
And just like the boundless energy and the enthusiasm and the intellectual rigor is exciting to
right.
see. This is not in any way a warts and all depiction of any of these people or the administration as a whole. It's a very loving, very appreciative, very affectionate portrayal of them and their work. So if you're looking for anything balanced or any kind of negativity, that's not there. That's not what this person's aim was in making this film.
No,
and that's okay. So as long as you know that going in, like,
That's right,
this
yeah.
is what this is. This is the kind of film that this is.
It's not a complete.
Yeah.
It's certainly not a complete picture, but it is a picture of what I would hope even, and I think you would, especially the Republicans or people on the right who are now recognizing the dangers that Trump possesses. I think they might say, well, I think I had a lot of objections to what Sam Power and John Kerry were doing leading the Obama foreign policy team, but I would never in a billion years question that they were the right people to have that job, and they tried as hard as they could and with a noble goal.
Oh yeah, I mean, Samantha Power she was a war correspondent, so having been a journalist, I think she wants to go there and see it for herself and feel it for herself, and you see the emotion overcome her, and that is a strength, I think, and there's an inquisitiveness, there's a natural inquisitiveness with all these people that is currently lacking.
I would like to see some people on the left who who use that phrase that I used, I was not serious about it, who call Hillary Clinton a warmonger, because I mean, if you believe that, then you believe the United States is that we're a warmongering nation, and that's a defendable point. I mean, we may be causing way more harm in the world lately than good, but it is important to see the human face of your warmongering argument, because these are people who want to avoid war, and it may be that we have so caught ourselves up in what Eisenhower was talking about, that we are the military-industrial complex and the foreign service complex are so permanently enmeshed that we can't escape this, and we ought to look for ways to escape it. But it is not because people are like, let's start another war. One thing, real quick, that I thought was also super interesting that I asked. What one thing don't we understand about this job that makes, and she said that times suck. Like, you start dealing with Syria, and when we started dealing with Syria, she said, I couldn't get to Egypt, I couldn't get to Yemen, we couldn't get to Israel and Palestine, we couldn't get to anything. Like, when one issue takes over, that's it. You spend 95 hours of your work week on that one issue. And no matter how much you think, hey, we're the State Department of the United States of America, we can do 55 things at once, you kind of can't.
Yeah. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Right, but when it's that big an issue, you can't.
Also, yeah, and of course, inevitably, because it is taking place over this entire year, you see election night.
Right.
And that was one of the more emotionally powerful parts of the film is Ben Rhodes, who is never at a loss for words. It's his job to, write these beautiful, eloquent speeches for President Obama. He's stunned. He's in absolutely stunned silence. And then the party that
all the women had.
Who all was there?
Madeleine Albright.
And Gloria Steinem is there. Samantha Power is there, and they're like, we're gonna have our first woman president. It's gonna be awesome. And you see, as was true in many homes across America, the energy level just drops, and everyone realizes, like this is really gonna happen. And it's a very dramatic night, a very dramatic moment. And I walked away with a great.
People often tell me on Twitter that they love watching me and Cenk and John Iadarola and others melt down, in their words, on election. I don't know that there was a meltdown, but they love seeing.
It's a reaction.
They love seeing that reaction because they're so giddy with the excitement that Hillary Clinton lost.
That's so lovely.
Yeah,
Anyway, so if you miss President Obama. This will make you miss him more. But even if I think no matter what side.
He's a minor player.
He is. Yeah. They get him like backstage on the sidelines of events. But even if you don't feel strongly about politics in general, it's hard to walk away with this without an appreciation for the time, the emotional investment, the intellectualism that it requires. Like I knew it had to be a really, really hard job. Yeah. I appreciate the details of it even more now. And they've got kids, they've got families, they've got lives, and now they can all go back to them and spend time with them. But that dedication was very impressive to me.
It is a love letter to professionalism and competence in difficult jobs.
Anyway, so my number is an 8. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I gave it 8.3. It's certainly worth seeing if you care at all about if you're interested at all about the machinations of government and foreign policy.
Yeah, so our number is 8.2, and it happens to be 82% on the tomato meter. So yeah, so go check it out. Thanks. Bye.